Pixar's Finding Dory takes us back into the deep blue for another search and rescue adventure, and it's teeming with hidden secrets and Easter eggs. Let's catch the current and take a ride. If you saw our video on Finding Nemo, you might remember director Andrew Stanton originally wanted to reveal the opening scene of that movie as a series of flashbacks throughout. In the end, it didn't really serve the story. But thanks to Dory's memory issues, a character flaw became a storyteller's blessing. This time, the flashback structure could be used when something on Dory's quest to find her parents sparks a memory from her past. The movie still opens a long time ago. Baby Dory is being taught special tricks and strategies by her parents to help deal with her memory condition. Dory's parents are Jenny and Charlie, voiced by Diane Keaton and Eugene Levy. Check out the fun coloring on Charlie. It makes him look like he's got a receding hairline. Young Dory was voiced by Sloane Murray, who was 7 years old at the time the movie was produced. Of course, we shift quickly to full-grown Dory, voiced by Ellen DeGeneres, as she wanders the ocean for years looking for her parents. Eventually, she bumps into Marlin, just like in Finding Nemo, only this time from Dory's perspective. Take a look at the same scene in both movies, and you'll notice some interesting design differences between the two. This is thanks to the technological improvements during the 13-year gap between the two films. Did you know that 13-year gap caused the producers to recast a key character in the movie? In 2003, Alexander Gould was 9 years old when he voiced the part of Nemo. Naturally, puberty ran its course during the 13 years between the two films, and Gould could no longer sound like the cute little forlorn clownfish we all know and love. The part of Nemo this time around is played by Hayden Rollins, also 9 at the time of recording. It's not to say Gould was left high and dry. Gould is still in Finding Dory, thanks to a sneaky voice cameo as Carl, the passenger in the Marine Institute truck. The truck in question also has another Easter egg hidden in the cabin. You'll see it best when the truck is commandeered by Hank, the seven-tentacled octopus, voiced by Ed O'Neill. Hank originally wanted to take the truck, which is headed to an aquarium in Cincinnati, but his plans change after meeting Dory. Anyway, when Hank is behind the driver's seat, look closely when he honks the horn, and you'll see a little circle with a star in the middle of the wheel. If it weren't monochrome, it would be red, yellow, and blue, because that's the Luxo Junior ball. Of course, there's no truck more famous in the Pixar universe than the Pizza Planet delivery truck from Toy Story. Seems there's no place this truck can't reach, including the ocean floor. Not gonna lie, this one's a toughie. After Dory sparks a flashback that reminds her that her parents' names are Jenny and Charlie, she speeds off yelling their names. In the shot that pans right with Dory in the distance followed by Marlin and Nemo, pause quickly and really study the junk on the seafloor. It's pretty well covered in the darkness, but that moss-covered rocket sits atop a sunken pizza delivery truck. You want another auto-based Easter egg? This one's a real deep cut. In the beginning of the movie, we watch Dory age in a montage as she looks for her parents. At one point, you can see her talking to a bunch of silver fish with Volkswagen Beetle in the background. That VW Bug is a wink at an old Disney movie, 1980's Herbie Goes Bananas, in which Herbie the Love Bug was played by multiple VW vehicles. One such vehicle was dumped in the ocean and never retrieved. Hank digs the ride. He sits in the Beetle during the end credits. Actually, there's something familiar about this. Fans of Adult Swim might recognize Hank's pose as an homage to the crass, adult animated series Squidbillies, about a dysfunctional family of hillbilly squids. In the opening of the show, Early Kyler sits in his pickup, tentacle leaning out the open window while he adjusts the rearview mirror, much like Hank is doing right here. Hank's not the only fun and interesting sea creature Dory meets. When she finally gets to the open ocean exhibit and her old home, she comes across a crab named Bill and his wife. Notice anything unusual about Bill's voice? It's artificially pitched up, but the inflection and delivery should be all too familiar because Bill is voiced by Pixar regular John Ratzenberger. In their search for Dory, Marlin and Nemo happen to meet some other fun and interesting marine life as well. Over at the tidal pool, they come across a rather talkative clam, starved for some company. Does that voice sound familiar to you? You heard it once already before. Stan from the first couple of fish that Baby Dory asks for help? No, that's actually SNL alum Bill Hader, along with fellow alum Kate McKinnon. Not a bad try though. Try again. Sigourney Weaver? Come on, really? I mean, she's good, but she's not that good. I'll give you a hint. He really crushes in this one scene. Yeah, okay, that was a gimme. The clam is also the voice of Crush, who happens to be director Andrew Stanton. By the way, did you happen to catch his little joke? When Marlin says he's happy to see the clam responds in kind, "I'm happy to see you." Get it? As in happy as a clam? Is this thing on? By the way, did you know that clams have several hundred little pinhole eyes called hyaline organs? That's a little bonus aquatic fun fact for you. Anyway, before the clam, Marlin and Nemo meet a couple of ferociously lazy sea lions, Rudder and Fluke. played by Idris Elba and Dominic West. Reunited, and it feels so good. Oh, sorry, I'm just a big fan of HBO's The Wire, which features both actors. West as Jimmy McNulty and Idris Elba as Russell Stringer Bell. Oh, it gets better. These two possess two sides of a most coveted Pixar Easter egg. Hit that pause button when they show the clownfish their tail tags. Rudders says A1 and Flukes says 13. Put them together. Yeah, you know what you got, A113. The Cal Arts classroom where founding Pixar animators learned their trade. Fluke and Rudder have a special spot staked outside the institute where they can lay out in the sun and live their best lives. That is, so long as another sea lion, Gerald, doesn't try to steal their small patch of rock. There are a couple of interesting connections to Gerald, both name-based. Gerald shares the same name as another minor character in this very same universe, the pelican who tried and failed the Marlin and Dory back in Sydney, Australia before Nigel, played by Jeffrey Rush, intervened. For the second connection, we need to travel more inland to the quasi-fictional town of Springfield. There we meet a little pointy-haired baby with an oral fixation that spans decades. I'm talking about baby Maggie Simpson from the Fox family sitcom The Simpsons. Fans will remember that Maggie has an arch-nemesis named Baby Gerald Sampson, who came on the scene in The Simpsons' 100th episode. Baby Gerald and Sea Lion Gerald share a common physical feature, a bushy black unibrow. Still not convinced there's a connection? How about this? Many artists from The Simpsons moved on to work at Pixar. One such employee is renowned Pixar director Brad Bird. Brad's not the only bird of note for our intents and purposes. Fluke and Rudder aid Marlin and Nemo in their search for Dory by calling upon Becky. Becky is a loon, both figuratively and literally, and she does her best to help Marlin and Nemo get where they're going around the Institute with mixed results. After gathering Marlin and Nemo in a bucket, she flies them inside the Aquatic Institute but accidentally strands them in a tree. By the way, take a look at that bucket real quick. Sure, it has its fill of barnacles, but it's a green bucket, not unlike the bucket Sasuke put Ponyo in after rescuing her from the glass jar in Hayao Miyazaki's animated masterpiece Ponyo. Turns out Becky is a popcorn fiend. Can you blame her? Here she is pecking away with a bunch of pigeons who have also a hearty appetite. Do the pigeons look familiar at all? They're the same character build as the pigeon who takes a liking to Mr. Potato, well, technically Tortilla Head in Toy Story 3. Want some more obvious Pixar cameos? I gotcha. While in quarantine, poor Dory goes through the short but rather terrifying process of being tagged. Just like our sea lion friends. If that wasn't scary enough, take a look at the workspace just behind her after she gets tagged. There's a picture of a familiar fish-destroying terror on the wall. That's right, it's the dentist's niece Darla from Finding Nemo. Like Nemo and Marlin, Dory finds herself in a bucket of fish meant to be food for another animal at the Institute, Destiny the whale shark, voiced by comedian Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. As it turns out, Destiny is a long-lost pipe pal from when Dory was younger. But back up a bit to the part where Dory is first dumped into Destiny's tank. She bumps into the glass, and on the other side is a crowd of kiddos looking in. Scan that group, and you might just find another little Pixar friend, Riley from Inside Out. Dory also meets Destiny's aquarium friend, Bailey, a beluga whale in rehabilitation for faulty sonar. Bailey is voiced by Ty Burrell, who's probably best known for playing magical realtor dad Phil Dunphy on NBC's hit sitcom Modern Family. Encouraged by Dory and Destiny, Bailey's sonar returns, and just in time, too. As Dory navigates the pipes to get back to quarantine, Bailey picks up on another presence in there with her. This sequence is a wink at another claustrophobic scene from the Ridley Scott chiller Alien, in which Tom Skerritt's Dallas desperately tries to escape a killer alien with the help of his shipmate's radar system. Of course, there's another huge alien connection with regard to Finding Dory, and that's Sigourney Weaver, the narrator of the Aquatic Institute. Alien was the first film that launched her to stardom, thanks to her strong and riveting portrayal of Lieutenant Ellen Ripley. So is it just me, or did the crew in Alien seem like they were less astronauts and more like space truckers? Remember the truck Hank hijacked? Well, before he takes over control, have a look at the right hand of the driver, and you'll find a Band-Aid with a picture of another famous Pixar vehicle, Lightning McQueen. It's kinda hard to tell what skin of McQueen to figure out which specific Cars movie they're referencing, but with Cars 3 being released the following year, we think this possibly could have been one of Pixar's plug Easter eggs. In the meantime, why don't you fish for some more hidden secrets and Easter eggs in Finding Dory? Check out our video Did You Know These 33 Finding Dory Facts right now. I hope you liked this video and found some cool new details you haven't seen before in Pixar's Finding Dory. Make sure you subscribe to Movielogic for more daily movie facts, trivia, and Easter eggs.